Fabulous. Okay. I'll officially get started then, and then anybody that jumps in late can just catch up. So, Amelia, are you happy to do the weight room?
Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome everybody. I feels like it's been ages since we've caught up on a live Acts of Connection. No doubt it has. We had a few offline events over the last few weeks, so it's lovely to see everybody back again, especially considering some of your Green Impact programs are now actually officially wrapped up in a sense. We've gone through a number of audits at some of your universities, and we've got some toolkit deadlines coming up over the next couple of weeks. So amazing to see some people that are still joining in on the Acts of Connection, even though you've finished on your toolkits for this year. I'm certainly certain we can get them counted in your toolkits for next year for being involved today. So we're going to be talking about how to make the festive season a little bit more sustainable, which I don't know about you, but it kind of blows my mind that we're already talking about Christmas, upcoming Christmas, or however you celebrate the holidays at the end of the year. And I don't know how many weeks away it is. I didn't actually think to count them up, but I don't think it's that many. So if you're trying to be a bit organized for some gift giving this year, hopefully we can give you some ideas on things that you can do today that don't cost the earth. We've got some lovely volunteers that are going to be taking us through some live demonstrations today. So Andrew and Layla from Victoria University of Wellington, thank you so much for agreeing to come on to the live demonstration today. Really looking forward to seeing what you're going to share with us. And we've also got another idea that was actually submitted by the Green Impact team from UNSW, and I'm going to be demoing that one for you. So I hope you'll bear with me as I learn along with you guys today, because I haven't actually done it before, but I think we'll be okay. But before we get into the demonstrations, Amelia is going to take us through a little bit of a presentation just to get you thinking about some other ways that you can really make your festive season or your holidays or however you celebrate at the end of the year a little more sustainable and hopefully a little bit less wasteful, because that's really the biggest issue we're thinking about here. So enough from me. I will pass over to Amelia now, who's going to take you through the presentation, and you just need to give me the nod when you want me to click through the slides.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Ree. Yep. Great. So Christmas time, the most unsustainable time of year. So you can, you might have noticed yourself, or you can hear a lot about the waste increase around Christmas time. So waste for the average household can increase as much as 30% at Christmas time. Two little local facts, in Australia, an estimated 400 million was spent on 10 million unwanted gifts in 2019. And I know, it is really a time that we buy a lot of stuff we don't need. It's definitely a time as well where people get a lot of adopt pets as presents as well. So that's another thing to think about. I guess people just don't really put much thought into it when they're buying for Christmas presents. That time of year they kind of just buy because they need to. Similar in New Zealand, the week after Christmas, an extra 50,000 tonnes of waste was sent to landfill as well. So that's just kind of to put things in a bit of perspective for you. Before we go through, I guess, different steps you can take. Probably the best ones I'll start with, going down to what you can do if you can't do these first initial steps. So you'll kind of get it as we go through a bit there. Then go to the next slide, Ree. So hopefully this is what our Christmas presents will be looking like, some baked goods or some nicely wrapped goods, and some using some of the environment around us as well. Okay, so the first one we can look at is buying less and buying less gifts. Secret Santa is a really great way to do this. If you don't know what Secret Santa is, it's where you kind of pick someone's name out of a hat, or you have a group of people, you pick someone's name out of a hat, and then that's who you buy a gift for, rather than buying a gift for everyone. So it can be a really great way as reducing the amount of gifts and also improving the quality of the gifts, because you usually have a limit. It could be $50 or $100 that you spend on it, and then you can buy a bit of more of a quality present. Again, think about how useful or loved the present will be, and avoid things like really plastic packaged gifts as well. So the next one we'll be looking at is decorations. So what can you repurpose around the house, sorry. Can you wrap your presents in something useful, and which we'll see an example of, two examples of later in the presentations, like tea towels, tote bags, scarves and socks, things like this. Again, are there things outside or in your house that will be beautiful dried? And then you can use it to add a bit of decorative purposes to your gift. If you are using wrapping paper, make sure you're not using that plastic coated wrap which can't be recycled as well. So just think about the kind of things that you're using around your house to make it look better, and also to improve the aesthetics of your present as well. And you can see here on this slide, there's some I really like the star made out of sticks as well. I think I want to try that this year. So next one, again, still buy less food. So think about what you're eating and preparing over Christmas, and how you can have more of a sustainable feast. So how much food do you really need to prepare? Where are you buying it from? Are you using local produce, and are you considering offering more vegetarian options? I know that the big Christmas feast is a lot of meat and the whole table is full, but is that, do you really need all that food? I have been a vegetarian for a while now, and my dad does a lot of cooking at Christmas, and people don't even notice that there's so much vegetarian food now. There might be like one thing of the chicken that everyone loves, but there's so many amazing recipes out there to include more vegetarian options as well. That's definitely something that I would recommend looking into, and you can still have a bright, colourful feast there. And also using seasonal produce is another one I think I forgot to mention there, but yeah, definitely have a look at using seasonal produce for your feast. So the next one is gift experiences. So there's an endless number of opportunities, things like adventure activities. You can do winery days, or there's the glamping things, and what else is there? Spa days, things like that you can buy people for. So gift vouchers. You can offer your time and skill. So you can run a class for your friends and family, maybe show them a skill that you have. You can offer to take niece or nephew out for the day, enjoying nature, or you can offer to take your friends or family's children out for a movie and offer to babysit the kids, like things like this. And these are all ideas that have been sent through to us as well. So if you have any great ideas, please share them around too. You can organise a treasure hunt for young children as well. Cooking classes or any kind of online class is a really great one. I've definitely gotten around this during being in isolation. So you can do cannoli classes or any kind of classes really. There's I did one the other day, which is kintsugi, which is the Japanese art of fixing broken pottery with like a piece of gold through it, or gold paint, which is really nice. So it's a really chance to share something creative and get people involved in learning new skills as well. So the next one, if you don't like those first two options, is searching for secondhand. So there's so much stuff out there that's already been bought, already been loved, and could be the chance for you to love something too. Op shops obviously is a really great one, but there are a lot of online platforms as well coming through. There's Marketplace. There's also an app called Depop, which is more for clothing, but that's another really good one. And there's things like eBay and Gumtree. So there's great opportunity to get online. I can guarantee you can almost find anything that you need secondhand online. Yeah. Make your own. So this is my favorite one. I love to make things as gifts. You can see there's a photo of me and my girlfriend last year for Christmas. We made so much chili jam, and it was a hit. Everyone loved it. You can find some really simple recipes online for things like jams and chutneys. And you can propagate some plants. I think Ree's going to show us one as well with some seeds. So you can plant maybe a sunflower seed or some other kinds of seeds and give that as a gift. You can make some skincare goods. And apparently there's Biome have DIY skincare kits that you can purchase. So you can do those. I know you can buy DIY candle making kits and a few things like that. And yeah, coffee scrubs, things like that are all really easy to make as well, and people love them. Shop local is the next one. So purchase gifts from small businesses. There's lots of local markets around, or you can, local businesses. Etsy is an online platform which usually has a lot of small business owners selling their products. And you can get things like in glass packaging or fabrics, really nice homemade condiments. Maybe you're not a fan of making things yourself, so you can still buy these locally produced items, salad balls, bread baskets, and of course plants, which everyone has been loving this year, I found. And then lastly would be to give ethical. So this is when you really need to, I guess, have a bit more thought into where you are buying your products from, what they're made of, what kind of company are you buying from, how are the workers treated, do they have any accreditation? So things like this, it could be like a reusable cup, like a Keep cup or Luxley cup. There's a lot of options out there at the moment. There's things like conscious socks, where people might have heard of, where they donate. I think they donate a certain profit to different organisations when you buy their socks, and they're fun socks. You can see on the photo here, this is, someone hasn't made this. You can buy this online. So it's some nice plastic-free handmade goods, and that comes in a nice little package for you if you're not the creative type as well. So that's kind of a really quick snapshot about the things to think about when you're giving Christmas gifts. And yeah, I guess if anyone has anything they'd like to share, I think I saw a few ideas come up in the chat, because obviously there's now, I guess, there's a world full of where the kind of businesses that are coming up. A lot of them have these ethical branding and want to reduce their waste and give local products. So there is stuff out there as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Amelia. Sorry, I'm just grabbing myself off mute there. A few things that have come through on the chat. Somebody's asked for your chili jam recipe, so I don't know if you're happy to share that.
I've got a good chili jam recipe, and I forgot to mention that one of the I think we have a coffee scrub recipe as well, and Hayley from RMIT showed us how to make a coffee scrub recipe earlier in Plastic Free July, so we can definitely send that around as well, because people really like that little homemade touch in their gifts, I think.
Definitely. And if you are interested in propagating plants, we did the session on that as well, so you might have a little bit of time to get something happening on that. Octavia's put in a comment about making your own Christmas bonbons or crackers. That's a great idea. I've actually seen this done before. I think you can even buy the little snappy cracky bit, just as like, that's the technical term for it. You can buy them. So if you want to make your own toilet rolls, some paper, and then you can put some really good, like nice little things in your crackers, other than the plastic crap that comes in a lot of them, unless you're going to buy the really expensive bonbons, which not a lot of people do. So that's a really great idea as well. What else did I see come through there? Buying a present for yourself instead of giving a gift. This is such a Christmas and birthdays in general. I find we're such a consumeristic culture that we just feel that we need to give gifts, and so often we just don't. I actually don't apologize for not giving gifts anymore, because everybody kind of knows that if you're going to get a present from me, it's either going to be a plant or it's going to be an experience, or I'll take you out for lunch or take you out for dinner or something like that, because you just don't need to give so much crap. I know half the gifts I get, even though they're very well intended, it's stuff that I don't want or don't need, and I'll usually find a reason to re-gift it on. Or give it to an op shop or something like that. So I love that idea of just buying something for yourself and getting everybody in your family group to do it, because then you get exactly what you want and what you need. No waste. So thank you for sending that through, Megan. Okay, well, please keep sending through your ideas and things in the chat. We'll be keeping track of that, and I'm sure we'll be able to put together some sort of summary after the session today of all the wonderful ideas that we get from everyone. But now we're actually going to go to Andrea, who's going to take us through our first demo today. And Andrea wins the award for the best apron that I have seen on a Zoom call, so which she made herself. Amazing. So over to you, Andrea.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd get in the Christmas theme. I just put a word in for felt.co.nz if you're in New Zealand. That's the New Zealand version of Etsy. But it's really good if you're not into making your own homemade soap or homemade hand cream, then go to Felt, because there's a lot of other Kiwis out there making stuff. So buy that, take the credit for it if you want to, but yeah, I bought some really cool stuff off Felt. There's some really clever people out there. But what I'm going to demo today is kind of the equivalent of Trilogy's Everything Balm. I don't know if anyone's been a big fan of that or buys Trilogy. It's a New Zealand brand. So this is a balm they sell. I've just looked it up. They sell it for $30 in a tin about this big, and you can use it on your hands or on your lips. And it's got pretty much the same basic ingredients as we've got in this today, and then a bunch of other kind of oils and preservatives and bits and pieces. So I'll show you how you can make your equivalent of this, of the $10 one that they make for their Christmas presents for about $2, so that you can give that away at Christmas time to everyone and save money and do your own version. So just put my awesome notepad away. So to do this, in terms of equipment, really all you're going to need is like one of these glass jugs. Hopefully yours has measurements, because mine's so old they've all worn off, which isn't very helpful, but if you've got one with measurements, super helpful. And then the other thing you mainly need is a mold. So, and if anyone wants to put in chat what mold they want me to use today, I'll use whatever we vote for. So I have various ice cube molds and things that I've accumulated over the years. Yeah, the unicorn, cacti, pineapples. So you've probably got tons of these in that giant, big, scary plastic drawer. These ones are like little limes.
I vote for the unicorn. I think it's going to be the unicorn.
Little seashells. Little mermaid soaps. And then I've got like plain ones, like these are square ones. This is actually a $2 like ice cube tray from Kmart. That was a failed attempt at a slow feeding dish for my cats. Did not work. But it's good for making these too. And then if you don't have anything like that, just a good old muffin pan. You know, the little baby mini muffin pans. So silicone one or like a hard one like this will work as well. Just when you want to get them out, chill them heaps in the fridge and just get a really good bang and they'll all come out. So are we making unicorns?
We are. There was one vote for a seashell. Sorry, Liz. You have been out.
That's all right. I think I've got enough. I'll do unicorns and seashells. There we are. So let's make some bench space. So we've really only got 3 main ingredients. So this is really not much harder than making like fudge, really. So we've got coconut oil. So just whichever one you've got floating around. Nice and simple. And then this is shea butter. So I get mine from purenature.co.nz. But if you look up soap making supplies in Australia, you should be able to find someone that sells shea butter. And this one is an organic fair trade one. So hopefully there's something like that you should be able to source over there as well. And then I'm using New Zealand organic beeswax as well. And I've got it in the little wee pellets. And this is really, really good if you've got it in little wee pellets like this, because it melts just so much faster. If you've ever had beeswax in the blocks, it's a bit of a nightmare. So if you do have some, just grate it so that it actually melts a little bit faster. So I timed it, melting this took me 25 minutes, just to give you an idea. So this is what the shea butter looks like. It's kind of a bit more creamy looking than coconut oil.
Does that liquefy at certain temperatures, or it'll always stay solid?
Well, I was going to say it's always stayed solid here, but I live in Wellington. So I don't know if it would always stay solid in many parts of Australia. I just keep it in the pantry in a cool place. But like my coconut oil stays solid for like 11 months of the year as well.
Okay.
So I'm guessing it's got about the same melt point as coconut oil.
Yeah.
So I'd say if you store your coconut oil in the fridge, store your shea butter in the fridge.
And we've got a few questions coming through around vegan alternatives for beef.
Yeah, so Pure Nature do one called bee wax, VEE wax, which is a vegan equivalent of beeswax. So it's the same kind of level of hardness. So you can use that. I've also used cocoa butter and just use the equivalent amount of cocoa butter to beeswax. And the great thing about that is it also smells really, really yummy as well. You just got to make sure you really, really well label your hand creams once you make them, because the family think it's chocolate and they try and eat them.
And I think there might be a soy equivalent, because we use that for the...
Yeah, and the soy, I think Amelia used one on, or Someone used one on the beeswax wraps as well, I think.
Yeah, the soy pellets I think you can buy.
Yeah. The main thing is that you want something quite hard. So these are really, really hard. That's what gives the hand cream the solidness. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a little pot of goo. So I'll switch to the action camera.
Can I give like a shout out to the professional production that we have?
Action cameras, yeah, woohoo! I'll just leave those there so you can kind of try and read them backwards and find the sources of them. But really all you're doing is just throwing all your ingredients in your container. And grabbing a spoon. That's why you do this demo in your own kitchen. And you can melt it in the microwave. I just have a preference for making a double boiler because I feel like I got more control over the melting process. So what I do is I sit this in a saucepan and melt it off. But fortunately there's one I prepared earlier so you don't have to spend 25 minutes watching all this melt. So after 25 minutes you'll end up with some very, so I've just set that in water there. So the same way you'd melt chocolate if you were doing like, you know, chocolate dipped candies or something like that, same scenario really. So like I said, it's really a lot like making fudge. And you kind of want the same level of hygiene as well. So just treat it like a cooking trip. There we are. So
Andrea, was that equal quantities of the bees?
So equal quantities of everything. So 1/3 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup of everything. So if you want to scale it up, do 1 cup, 1 cup, 1 cup. Yep. The other way to do it is just find out which ingredient you've got the least of and measure that and then do equal quantities of the other two. Would be the other logical way to do it. And then what you can do with this, since we're going to get like twice the bang for our buck, is I happen to have an empty tube. Oh, look, I can go up here of lip balm. So while I'm at it, I might just top it up. So what I've done is I've screwed it right down to the bottom. I don't know if you can quite see. My camera going to zoom in on that. But I've just screwed it right down to the bottom so that I've got the little, you know, the little basey thing that pushes up and down is sitting right at the bottom. I have my special lip balm pouring jug. You can use like a little plastic pippage. I just like the jug because it's reusable. And I bought it in Niagara Falls, so it's like my little holiday souvenir. It's very hard to do this carefully when you've got so many people watching you. So I'm just pouring that in my tube and I'm just going to leave that to set, and then my lip balm is all refilled and ready to go. So that's just saved me having to buy another lip balm. So, and I refill those containers again and again, and they go through the dishwasher pretty well too, so which is quite handy. So the secret is to do that before you add the essential oils to this for the hand cream, because I don't think you really want to be eating the essential oils in your lip balm. So what I've actually done with a previous batch, hopefully that'll melt up again, is I flavoured this one. So this has actually got organic coconut flavouring in it. So I keep this for refilling my lip balms. And then I just cut a little bit off at a time and melt it in my little lip balm jug in the microwave. And then I can just top them up. And then like these guys, Pure Nature, and there's a few other soap making supply places, sell little cardboard tubes as well. So if you want to make new batches of lip balm, excuse me, to give as gifts, then you can do that as well. So otherwise, we can make unicorns. So, oh, sorry, I haven't added my smell. I'm going to add lang lang. Is it lang lang or ylang lang? Does anyone know?
This is one of those things that I always say.
Just a mystery. It just sounds like a name for a Pekingese, doesn't it? Imagine someone going, lang lang, behave yourself. So for every cup of mixture that you end up with here, which is where it's really good if the measurements are still readable on your jug, you want to add 5 drops of essential oil. So don't go crazy. Because as we remember from Ree's talk, we need to be careful with essential oils, not go too bonkers. No, it's not going to come out at all. Here we are. So So I've added Lang Lang or Ylang Ylang because apparently it has anti-aging properties. So now we have made our anti-aging imitation trilogy everything balm, shaped like unicorns. Take that trilogy. And this is the point where it's just, oh, you're right.
Oh, I was just saying they seem to be setting quite quickly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, which is really handy. I mean, if you live somewhere warmer than Wellington, which is most of you, you could put them in the fridge to set, and you might want to store them in the fridge if it's like the middle of summer. But yeah, I find they set pretty quickly. So we've got enough to do seashells.
We did have somebody in the chat let us know that shea butter melts at 37 degrees. So,
So that's about blood temperature. So yeah, that's not hot.
Yeah, and if anybody's joining in from Queensland, you definitely will probably want to be storing these in the fridge.
Yeah, so you might find you need to adjust the recipe a little bit if you're in a really hot climate. If you find that it gets too melty and sticky, you might need to add a bit more beeswax.
Yeah.
And that'll keep it solid at the hotter temperatures.
Or just be aware that it will melt. I had this happen. I went camping in Cunnamulla last Christmas where it got to 50 degrees where we were. And needless to say, my deodorant, which is a natural deodorant, was pure liquid, which I wasn't expecting when I opened it. So
50 degrees, do you even bother wearing deodorant? It's a lost cause.
It was an uncomfortable night.
It's just not going to happen, is it? There we are. So yeah, this is starting to solidify because I did melt this in advance too. So what you could do with this is pour off your little container to top up your lip balms and then make up your hand creams with the rest. The great thing is when you do the cleanup, if you get any like leftover bits, you can just sort of rub them into your hands as you go along, so you can kind of moisturize while you work. Just my favorite kind of job. Put those over there, but fortunately there's some I made earlier. So these are the ones I did in the metal tin. So I chilled these in the fridge. The colder they are, the easier they are to get out the metal tin. I've tried it with, like, you would think intuitively that you should heat the tin up and they melt a bit and fall out easier, but they seem to stick more. So get the tin really, really chilled, get a thick towel on the bench and then just beat the hell out of them. Do it after a long day at work. And then they'll all come out and you'll end up with these little wee things. So I'll switch cameras again. Oh, look at that. It's just like a professional production. So you end up with these cute little wee things when you use a muffin tin. And my great discovery with these is they fit perfectly inside these little tins that you can order from the soap making company. This is rose gold. And my hands are really slippery now because I've been like dosing myself up as I go along. So that just looks too cute for words. So the tins were like about $1.30 each. Plus my ingredients. So then you just pop that out, and when someone uses it, they just warm it in their hands, get as much as they need, pop it back in the tin. And then there's no drama if it melts. So 50-degree heat, it would just melt and stay in the tin. And then if you want to level up, I've just made this for my sister-in-law for Christmas. So she lives in Canada, so I have to send her stuff with kiwis on. She has a house full of stuff with kiwis on. It really confuses all her Canadian friends because they don't know what the bird is. They think she's obsessed with weird turkeys. So this is an old, this is a tin we got the year before in a Secret Santa. It had chocolates in it. So repurposing our gift wrap. And then I've just put in here just a little bar of soap that I've made. And then I've made some lip balm and hand cream, so out of that same batch.
That looks so nice. I would love to receive that as a gift.
So just like a cute little wee set there.
Amazing.
So easy peasy.
That's so good. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
That's all right.
I think everybody's been putting questions through as we've been going. So if you do have a question, pop it in the chat. Otherwise, we'll keep going because we'll be coming back to Andrea. She's going to reset for.
Gotta get all this hand cream off. Everything's going to fall out my hands when I move it.
It's a baby's bum after all of this. So. Thank you so much. We'll jump on to Layla now, who's also got a wonderful demonstration to show us. So I'll just pin you so you can, here we go. Over to you, Layla.
Thanks. So I'm also in Wellington, like with Andrea. So it's been fourth season in a day today. It was hailing briefly, it was sun and it was rain and wind, but that's what we get in Wellington. So my idea was, I was telling Amelia that it's not really original, but last year, me and my daughter, we went to Japan and I was so fascinated with the Japanese culture. They have this thing called furoshiki, which is the, you use these square fabrics to wrap things up, and it's very versatile. We went to this shop called Itoya, which is a brilliant shop in terms of stationery and stuff. And that's the first time I actually saw furoshiki. And when I looked it up back at home, it's basically a square piece of fabric. So it's like sometimes you might be gifted things like a silk square scarf and something like that. Like I work at university working with students, and so sometimes grateful students would give me something, and this is one of them. But I'm not really the type of person who would wear a scarf like that. So I find it very handy because this piece of fabric, I mean, it's silk and it's beautiful, but I don't really wear it. So discovering the art of furoshiki was brilliant because I can actually fold that, put it in my bag. I can use it to wrap anything. I can even make it into a bag for shopping. And it's so versatile. The other thing that I discovered is this kind of like bento box wrapper. It's basically kind of like a folded origami piece of fabric, and I'll show you how to make that later. So I just use leftover fabric. I'm a sewer as well. That's why I have quite a lot of leftover fabric. So first of all, like Andrea, I will switch you to the action camera. Just wait a minute. That's not the right one. That one. Okay.
Perfect.
Here we have the different things that I've done previously. The thing about furoshiki is when you knot it like that, you pull one to the side and you just pull it apart, and that's just how easy you can open a gift. So the idea being, these scarves, for example, some of these I found at secondhand shops, and they just sold it for me for $1. And there's plenty of them. There's plenty of different kind of colors and stuff. But essentially what you do is you place your item in the middle, you fold one corner and you fold the other corner, and then you take one end and you take the other end and you make a knot in the middle. You can make it nice and kind of fluff that bit up just to make it look more like a flower. So like you don't even need ribbon anymore because that's just the whole thing. Traditionally, apparently I looked it up today with furoshiki, is when you give something to somebody, they are meant to return the fabric back to you. So it's reusable all the time. It's not something that's thrown away, but I suppose in the spirit of Christmas, maybe you can just give the whole thing. So it is so versatile that maybe you might like to use it for a bottle of wine. So if we use this one again, you basically put it in the middle of the square. You take the two corners, opposite corners, and make a double knot, like so. And then you can lay the bottle down, and you see these two ends. You kind of wrap it around, turn it to the other side, and these two ends you can then tie together. And there you have a wine bottle that's already wrapped, and it has a little handle on the top for you to give to somebody. If you look it up online, there's so many different ways that you can use furoshiki. Different kind of ways you can make bags. You can even do 2 wine bottles. If you have a big enough fabric, then you can actually do 2 wine bottles if you're going to give 2 wine bottles to somebody. So that's furoshiki. So the other thing that I wanted to show you is how to make this a little bit here. I'm gonna open it first. So essentially, essentially it's a little bag, and I have some leftover fabric here for making a dress. Essentially what you do is it's three squares. And so whatever fabric you have, I just usually roughly just eyeball them and kind of see what I come up with. So I don't normally make specific sizes. I just see, okay, if I fold that fabric into thirds, like so, get rid of that bit there and that bit there. So then, because we need to have it as a square, I then measure that part out. Okay, that's 21 centimeters. So if I take it maybe from there just to make it tidy, and I'll just mark out 21 centimeters. If you have a ruler, probably better, but just mark it out. And it's very forgiving as long as you're not too concerned about the symmetry of your packaging. So then we put that bit off. And so that's roughly 3 squares. So what you do then, I suppose I might tidy that up just a bit so that it looks straighter. What I normally do is just so that I know where roughly the 1/3 is, I kind of just make a notch in the corner on one side and do it on the other side as well. So the way you sew this to become a bag like this, first of all, is you fold that one and really you sew that part first. You open up that little triangle, fold the other bit in, and then sew that part. So for me, I often do it with like for this one, I do it with an overlocker, just so that it just one go, it cuts, it tidies everything up. So I'm now going to pull my overlocker in and show you quickly how it will be possible to sew this. So I usually do that side first and then that side just to get it out of the way. If you want to be kind of more, if you have an overlocker and you want it to be perfect, then you probably could use colored thread as well.
It's like being in a construction site with that overlocker.
So now we've done the kind of the short ends. We fold that first one to that notch that I've already made. And then we do that long bit with that one folded. I might put myself on mute while I do.
Now I need to like do some
Need some kind of background music.
I'll double check what we can do for those that don't sew or have an overlocker. I'm sure you could use a regular sewing machine for this.
You could use a regular sewing machine, and if you have pinking shears, you could probably, so that the ends don't fray, you can cut it with pinking shears. Or if you're very crafty, you could actually make double-sided so that they have different colors on both sides, and so when you fold it and you do a knot and everything, it's contrasting colors. I haven't tried that yet. So now we have that one corner there that's done. So we take that one out of the way, so we don't want to over sew that one, and we fold that one down. So now we sew that end there. I'm gonna put myself on mute again.
I think it'll be a challenge for Andrea to take up to do a double-sided bento box bag, considering she's a very sewy kind of person. I don't know if anyone else is. I don't sew anything.
Okay, so now we have, it's kind of shaping up already like that. We turn it inside out. That's already a little bag when you pull the corners out. Let's put that out of the way. It's kind of already a little bag with two corners. So you can leave it just like this, and you can put something in it. Like sewing kit, you can put something in it already like that, and do a little knot on the top. And that's your little gift all ready to go. If you wanted to have like the pink one that I did, it kind of has corners to it. So the bottom of it is a bit more rectangular like that. So when you put something in, it doesn't have the ends like that sticking out. What you then do, you put it inside out again. Go back to that when it's like that. You sew that bit. So I'm going to put myself on mute momentarily.
She makes it look so easy. I guarantee if you gave me that machine, I'd have thread and fabric going everywhere.
I was just thinking that. It looks so streamlined.
So basically what I did is I just took off that corner. Maybe it's that corner, like that. And so when we turn it inside out, it has a rectangular base. So you can be, if you're mathematically inclined, I'm not, you could probably measure, like if you're going to be gifting a book, so you kind of measure what size the book is. If it is a book, I would probably suggest actually doing something like that, because that's way easier than trying to measure things out. But every time I sew something and I have kind of like enough fabric, I actually make these little bags and I just leave it in the kitchen to wrap my lunchbox, or if I'm giving sourdough to somebody, I just wrap a sourdough in it and just give it to them, and it's just fabric wrapping, and they give it back to me. And so that's, I'll just put back my video to the face cam again. So it's a sustainable thing because you just use whatever leftover fabric you've got. You can even kind of use, like if you have a favorite dress that you don't wear anymore, or something that you quite, if your daughter, like my daughter's now quite grown, but there's a beautiful dress that I made for her, I just butcher that and use the fabric from there. But like I say, using these scarves that you might find at secondhand shops, they're just brilliant, because like I say, they just gave it to me for $1 each.
Awesome. That's so simple, but yeah, very, very effective. So thank you so much. I'm surprised at when you were going to show me the first one about how to wrap. I thought, oh, this is going to be complicated origami. I was actually shocked at how simple it was. I don't know if anyone else was with me there. I'm like, oh my God.
Just 2 knots, just 2 ties, and that's it.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. I will certainly be using this one as well. So thank you. So it looks beautiful, almost too beautiful to unwrap. So thank you so much for sharing. And if any of you crafty people out there, I hope to see your versions of bento box coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's amazing. All right, let's jump back to Andrea for her second demo for today.
Oh, with no sewing machines. Okay, am I all good there?
Yes, sorry, I'm just making you highlighted.
Yes, with setup number 2. I have a stack of old paper and a stack of books and no sewing machine, so this is going to be way less technical. So I'm going to show you how you make gift bags out of paper, but I thought I'd first sort of show you what I do throughout the year in my weird hoarding habits. So I just keep lots of different interesting bits of paper throughout the year that I could use to make gift bags out of. So these are kind of things that you can keep an eye out for. So I've amassed a pile of, this is all stuff I just found kind of lying around the house. So hopefully all of you will be able to amass a pile. I'm sure all of you are thinking I could amass a pile like that by the end of today. So it's just some ideas of what you could use. This is like from our local newspaper. So if you're going to give anyone an experience like concert tickets, something like this could be quite cool. I gave my parents movie tickets a couple of years ago, so I filled the bag with just popcorn I made in my popcorn maker and put the tickets inside it. So that was really cool because the birds got a Christmas present as well. Completely sustainable. Old wrapping paper is always good. I get that habit off my mum. She hoards it all every year. This one's a seed catalogue. So if you have companies that are still sending you catalogues and you haven't got off their list, I quite like this one because it's just got lots of colourful illustrations in there. So these things are always brilliant. So you've probably got tons of random little catalogues. Great if you're going to give someone your seed bombs that you've made after Ree's tutorial. Everyone wants to remember 2020 forever. So if you've got a favourite calendar you've been using this year with great pictures, you can always use your calendar pictures, or just delight in tearing up your 2020 calendar early, because who doesn't want to do that as well? This one's a program from Art Deco Napier back in the olden days when we could socialise with people and go to events. So again, this is another really cool one that you could make into a gift bag if you're giving someone tickets to an event or something like that. So you can kind of keep it in the theme. And it's just got great colours on it. So I always keep an eye out for things with really cool colours. And then you can go to the other extreme. So this is pages from a 1960s Woman's Weekly. These are the fashions you're all going to be wearing for Christmas this year, ladies. So they're really fab. I always love those. They're kind of interesting. This is, I went through our random paper drawer. So this is just, do you remember in the days when we used to like print out invitations on our computers and send them to people? Yeah, the price tag on this is dated the year 2000. So it's probably time I finished the paper in this packet and did something with it. Because 20 years is long enough to keep it in a drawer. I love sheet music. So you can get it at the op shops, but I find it's a bit high priced. So head down to your dump shop and stack up on it. You'll find books of sheet music that are all falling apart. But it just has such a cool look, and it's just kind of Christmassy. It's even better if you can find sheet music of Christmas carols. Yeah, it just looks excellent. Another one I've used a lot is cookbooks, and some of you might think this is a bit of a crime. You know, especially if they're meat cookbooks and you go on vegetarian, what else are you going to do with them? But you know, they end up with great pictures in them. And it's kind of cool if you're buying someone something cooking related or something like that. It's kind of cool too. So lots of sources. And my other favorite is coloring books. So my niece is a bit of a coloring in addict. So my sister has all these coloring books filled with pages and pages of stuff that's colored in. So that's just too cute for words. Once you got, if your kids have been coloring in lots and lots of pages and you want to make a present for the grandparents, you know, how cute is that? They'll always appreciate that artwork. So, and this one is a blank one. So that's my stash. So I just kind of collect up little treasures throughout the year and put them in my gift packing box. The other thing I keep an eye out for is brown paper that comes in parcels. So a few of the companies I order off now do those big scrunchy balls of brown paper. So I just flatten it all out and fold that all up and keep it in the cupboard, and I use that in lieu of tissue paper, or I use it for wrapping paper. So definitely keep all that throughout the year is good. And I bought one pair of new shoes last year, and I kid you not, it came with about 50 sheets of tissue paper. So I've got enough to get me through this Christmas as well. And then, yeah, there's a few other goodies I keep. But I thought this time I would show you how I'll wrap probably one of the most awkward things to wrap, and that is clothing. So I have this for my niece this Christmas. Isn't this cute? I want to keep it for me. Look, oh my God, butterfly top. But it's like, it's ridiculous sheer fabric, and you just like, how do you wrap that? You can't. It's just dumb. So I'll show you how we make a bag for it. So the first thing you want to do is find a stack of books, or a single book, like this one by Victoria University of Wellington Press, #BuyLocal, or a stack of DVDs, depending on what you have lying around your house. And you just want to grab something that's going to be about the approximate size of what you're wrapping. So kind of eyeball it. If you're not very good at eyeballing it, add in an extra book. But obviously you need everything to be the same size. You want kind of an even size stack. So if you have one big fat book, it's going to be heaps easier. That's where DVDs are kind of handy, because most of them are sort of the same size. So, and I'll switch over to Action Cam. Now you can use glue or sellotape. I happen to have double-sided tape around the house. If you've got sellotape, use that. If you've got glue, use that. Just be careful, like I wouldn't use PVA glue because it'll go through into your books. And you might not be very popular if they're not your books. Because I was going to say, if you can't find books the right size, go down and use library books, but perhaps not if you're going to use PVA glue. So don't make yourself too unpopular. Looks like Alyssa hasn't finished this one, so I might leave it in there for her. I think this one's quite nice. Oh, look at this. We've got a page of angel wings. Isn't that Christmassy? That's cute. So what we want to do is grab our books and just make sure this is going to go around the books this way around. So I've got loads of paper, so that's good. And then I want to make sure out the bottom that this is going to go up about 2/3 of the way. And the handy thing was having 3 books stacked up as 2/3 of the way is 2 books. So you can see there it's nice and foolproof to measure, which is even better. And what I'm going to do is just cut off a bit of this excess paper, because I'm not going to need all of that. If you're not very confident in cutting in straight lines, just fold it first and then cut it. It's always a good way of doing it. So what you want to do is, as you bring it around, you want to get these corners nice and sharp so you can run a fingernail along them. Or if you're lacking a bit in manicure, just use like the edge of your scissors. We want to make sure on every side of our stack of books that we're getting a nice sort of sharp corner on there. And it's just going to make it a bit easier further down the track. Folding this corner down here quite sharply. And don't worry if your piece of paper doesn't come to the end of your books. It only has to come out one end of your books, not both ends. So it just depends on the height of the bag that you want to end up with. So what I'm going to do is fold this up here. I'm going to tuck that under because what I want is the seam to end up on the side. It just looks a lot neater that way. Just make my edges all sharp, and then I'm just going to get my double-sided tape, which is a little bit wasteful because I end up with all these little strips of paper, but it's probably less wasteful to use something I already have in the cupboard than to go out and buy something else just for this project. Done that the wrong way around, haven't I? Okay. So normally we would have done that the other way around. I put the double-sided tape on the wrong piece so that the seam was down this side here. So don't do what I just did. I'm just going to put another piece of double-sided tape on there so that it tightens up a bit. Oh, that's so funny. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you can just cover your mistakes with ribbon. That's what Christmas is for. There we are. So you should have an end here. There we are, and we've just got about that much in your end there. So we're sticking out by like about the distance of the thickness of the books, if that makes sense. And what we're going to do is we're going to push that down and going to make little triangles. There we are. So if you're already really good at wrapping presents, you'll be familiar with doing this. And if you're one of those people who tries to avoid wrapping presents, you'll be feeling a fear of dread. So you fold that down to make little triangles. And then what we're going to do is fold that down there and make your edges really sharp again. The books are quite good, so just give you a bit of a frame to fold against. Here we are. So what we're ending up with, I'll show that to you again, is that we've got it all folded neatly in there. And then because I'm using double-sided tape as well, you don't see the finished look. If you've got single-sided tape, you can double it back on itself and stick it on like double-sided tape as well, so you can have an invisible finish. Or if you've got a bunch of leftover stickers that the kids are lost interest in, or they're from your scrapbooking career or something like that, you can just hide the tape with stickers and make it look a bit more professional. Here we are. So now we've got the start of a bag, but it's full of books instead of Christmas presents. So we're just going to ditch our books. We can go back on the bookshelf. And the next thing we're going to do is where we folded down the edges, and we've got these two foldy bits. Make sure they're really sharply folded. And this bit is optional, so if you're not feeling confident, don't worry about this bit. You don't have to do it. This is just so your bag will fold down when you're not using it. But to be honest, the reason the bags in the shops fold down when you're not using them is because the shops pack them all into boxes and ship them around the country. And you don't have to do that. So what we're doing is taking these two edges and we're pushing them together and then just folding the bit down in the middle. Down the side of the bag until we get down to about there, which is about the distance of that width, if that makes sense. And then just leave that for a bit. And we're doing the same on the other side. Sorry, I shouldn't be doing this facing me. I'm trying to do this facing you and look at it. The next funny little maneuver we've got to do is just to fold this base bit down onto one side of the bag, and that's what gives you your flat bag that you see in the bags you buy in the shop. So I squeeze all the way up there. I'm squeezing with my 3 fingers, so we've got like a little bit of a T shape going on there. And then that'll just fold down like that. So we have a bag, and I'm going to flip back around to the front camera. I really should have trained one of the cats to do this for my camera angles. So now you've got to fasten it, or we could put our present in it too, actually. So now I can put this cute little fluffy thing in here for my niece, who's going to go crazy over it. The joys of being sick, so. There we are, and then you've got a few different options for fastening. The simplest and my favourite at the moment, and this is really good if you're just not inclined to be like artistic with doing up ribbons and things like that, is just to fold it over and then stick like an adorable little peg on it. No skills needed. Look at that, no glue, no sellotape, no skills, no bows, brilliant. If your kids have done school photos this year and they've got like those cute little mug shots, so this is my nephew, isn't he adorable? Oh, and you're giving it to like the grandparents, stick that on there and you've just got like 4,000 child points. And you don't need a label, don't know who it's from, but yeah, that's just too cute for words. Otherwise you could like just staple it shut or punch a hole in it, and I've done a couple earlier. This one I prepared earlier that have been in the oven. So this is the one I did out of the seed catalogue. And I've done, this is just some leftover beaded trim, and this is from a broken earring. So I keep all my earrings, like if you ever lose an earring or break earrings or anything like that, I hold all those as well because they're shiny and blingy, and you can just get out your glue gun and stick them on presents and people think, wow, that's so amazing. So I highly recommend. And what I've done is just tried to keep in with the colours that are on the paper. So that's how you keep it looking consistent. And then this one here is the same colouring in paper. This ribbon is from a top. So you know when you buy tops and they have those ribbons in the shoulders to make them look good in the shop. And the number of times I buy them from the op shops and they still have the ribbons on them. So I cut all the ribbons off and keep them in my little stash with my broken earrings. And they're really good. So I've just hole punched this one a little bit off center and tied that with a ribbon. This is a broken Christmas decoration, and this is just a bauble. So I've just tied the whole lot on there. So yeah, just forge shiny things and ribbons from tops.
Amazing.
And then your presents are all done.
Fantastic. Between the two demos we've seen today, I expect everybody's gifts that they're giving fabulous.
We've got a set uniform. Here we are.
Beautiful. Now you can ship one around to everybody that's on the call. That would be awesome.
If you're going to put something like unicorns, hand creams or anything like that in the bags, I'd wrap them in greaseproof paper and then put them in the bag first. Yeah,
that's a good point.
because they'll kind of leach through the paper, you get a bit of a stain. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I've certainly never thought of using books or anything like that to make those bags, so that's really handy. Any questions for Andrea, please do put them through the chat. Now, what I'm just going to say, we have gone over time today, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep the call going and show you the final demo that we had today. So it will go over the hour that we'd scheduled it for. If you need to duck off to another meeting or something else, then don't stress. We will make this video available for you to watch after the fact, so you can catch up on anything that you haven't missed. Oh, sorry, that you did miss. But if you want to stay with us for another 10 minutes or so, I'm going to show you one last idea for another gift to do this Christmas. So I think a few people are ducking off now, so I'll say bye and thanks for joining in. But otherwise, I'm going to show you something that one of our Green Impact teams suggested, and they actually sent through a video on how they make this, which Amelia, maybe you can grab that video and pop it in the chat for everybody. So the ladies did an amazing job with that from UNSW, but I'm going to take you through a version of that now, which is to make little seed bombs. So the idea behind these is it's just a little biodegradable gift that you can give the gifts of seeds, which everybody knows I'm the plant person, so I guess it's kind of good that I'm showing this one. But I think plants are a lovely way a lovely thing to gift. And when you do seed bombs like this, you can basically give any type of plant, whether it's a flower or a herb or vegetables, anything like that. So you can really have some fun with it. You can customize it in a lot of different ways. So I'm just going to take you through the bare basics of what to do today, showing how simple it is. And then I really hope to see everybody making their own and getting creative with it. So I literally have not done this before, and I was able to find everything that I needed in my house. I haven't purchased anything. I'll be recycling a few things. So to start off with, I keep all my scrap paper. I actually have a whole bunch of these Green Impact bingo cards that we used at an event last year. That has also been my notes paper for the last 12 months, so it's been doing me well. So I've got a whole bunch of notes here that I no longer need. So all you need to do to start this off is have some old paper, cardboard. I'm going to tilt this down so you might only see about half of my face, but I think you need to see what I'm doing rather than my face for this, so I'm sure we'll all live. Super simple. You can use any type of paper that you don't need anymore, cardboard if it's not too thick, envelopes that you get sent mail in. The only thing I get sent in the mail these days is bills or things that I don't really want to receive, but just take the little plastic clear window out of them and you can shred them up. And that's all you need to do. You just shred up that paper and make some nice little paper squares out of it. Now, if you've got a bit of time, you can do the next step overnight. So once you've filled up, basically however much paper you choose to use is how much you'll make out at the end. So if you've got heaps of paper, and you can use newspaper, anything like that. I've got some paper towel and the other one that I've had going. Shred it all up, and basically what you need to do is cover it with water. So if you want to do it quickly, you can cover it with boiling water, and then you just need to let it set for about 10, well, you need to let it do its thing for about 10 minutes. If you're using thicker materials like cardboards and whatnot, then I would recommend you do soak it overnight. It will make the next step easier. So like all the greats, here's one I prepared earlier. Basically, all I did before I shredded up a bowl, I filled up a bowl of this paper, and then I filled it with boiling water. So that's all I did. Nice and easy, super simple. Put that aside and let it sit. So this is the paper that I shredded earlier, and it's been soaking for about an hour now. It was boiling water when I initially did it. Now, the fun thing with making seed bombs is that you can make all different colours. So if you've got food dyes at home that you want to add into this, then you can do different batches and make them in different colours. I didn't have any food dye because I don't bake. Andrea, I laughed when you showed all of your moulds and like how many moulds you had. You said everybody's got these at home. I don't. I don't bake, so I had no mold at home. So wait until you see what I did. But anyway, I also didn't have any food dye. So I was thinking I really wanted to colour this to match the plant that I'm going to be using seeds for. So I have used some turmeric from my cupboard, which can be, if you've ever cooked with this, you know it stains everything. So I figured this will be a really good dye. Sorry, I just realized I've got Andrea pinned. Let me just, so the video will be Andrea nodding for the first few minutes. Apologies on that one. I might just super quickly recap that I have shredded some paper, put it in a bowl and covered it with boiling water. I'm sure you can all follow the instructions from that for the video. Now this is the one that I prepared earlier, and I just put about a teaspoon of turmeric in this. I have no idea if this is going to work, but it's been sitting there for an hour and it's turned a lovely shade of yellow there, which is exactly the effect that I was going for. Food dye, I'm sure there are lots of different things that you can do for natural dyes as well. There's a whole art behind it, and maybe somebody can put the name of it in the chat, because there's a special name for dyeing with natural dyes and I forget what it's called, but I'd love to do a session on that next year if we get time to, because I think it's fantastic. Okay, so what we need to do here, now that this has been soaking, we've got some pretty soggy paper, but it's still not the consistency that we need. So at this stage, what we do is we need a blender. Now I'm going to be using my trusty NutriBullet. If you don't have a NutriBullet, that's fine. You can use a blender or a blend stick or anything like that. If you don't have a blender of any description, I'm sure you could still probably do this, but you really need to let this paper soak for quite a long time so that it completely broke down, and you'd have to do some manual, mixing to really get it to the smallest components that you have. But I feel like most people should be able to get access to a blender of some description. And when you do, you just pour that mixture in and you get it all over your table. It smells lovely though. Okay. So there we have it. Let me just get my old notes out of the way. So I am just going to pop this, the blades onto my bullet. Now I am going to mute this next bit. So Amelia, I don't know if you want to come on and have a little chat for 30 seconds, because I'm going to whiz this up. Actually, I'm just going to put a little bit more water in it. It doesn't hurt to put more water in at this stage, because we will be taking it out again later. I'm just going to mute myself, or I can figure out how to do it. There we go.
I was just thinking, Amelia, if you had one of those cross-cut shredders at work, that would shred the paper quite tiny, so you might not need to blend it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Definitely. So I know I have a blender, but I don't know if it's that much of that common in some households.
So, yeah, I've got a stick blender, but I'm just picturing that wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to end up with quite a mess. But I don't know, has anyone got any, we've got one of those shredders that just shreds everything in long strands, so I suppose you could go along and cut it up a bit and then soak it. That might get little enough.
Yeah, and like Reece said, I guess you could just let it soak a bit longer as well, and then it will end up just breaking down completely anyway.
Yeah, you've got kind of that paper mache, isn't it, without the gluey bit?
Yeah.
If you've got a paper shredder at work and you want to pinch that paper and do something useful with it, that's a really good way to do this. But I've just given it a couple of whizzes. You would have seen me, I stopped and gave it a shake, because my bullet tends to get things up on the side. Always does it when I make pesto as well. But what I've got, it's actually turned green, which must have been from the fact that most of the paper I had was either grey or had a blue colouring on the back of it. So it's turned green, which I wasn't expecting, but there you go. So now moving to our next step. So what I have here in my household, what happens with old clothes if they're not good enough to go to the op shop is they go in the rag bin, because I have no sewing skills. So I pulled out something from my rag bin, just cut a square out of that, and I've got just a good old strainer and a bowl. Because in this next step, what I want to do, all the water that we put into that mixture, we want to try and drain that out now. So it's looking very much like mushed peas at the moment. All of that out. Don't forget to look in the top of your NutriBullet lid. It's where all the good stuff hides, especially if you're making hummus. Sorry, I didn't do that. Okay, so I've missed a few bits. That's all right. We'll just pinch them out. So now I've got a rather gross looking green paste in here. I'll show you there. And the idea with this step is I want to try and get as much of that water out as possible. So I just bring up the corners and I'm just going to give this a really good squeeze and try and get as much of that moisture out as possible. If you're using turmeric, I really strongly recommend you don't do this anywhere where you're going to spill turmeric water on the carpet. If you do, I take zero responsibility for that. All right, so you can see just how much of that water does come out of the mixture. Nice and squeeze. Now that should do. And that has left us with basically a, oh God, it looks terrible. Let me break that up a bit. Green paper. It's kind of like a dough. It's the best way to describe it. So I'll just show you there so you can see. Now, the next stage, if you've got some really funky molds, muffin tin molds, all those wonderful things that Andrew showed you, you can use those. If you don't, you can roll them up into balls so you can hand shape them and give them a nice big roll. You can flatten them out on a table or a bench or something, obviously using something to protect the surface if you're using dyes that are going to stain. And you can get cookie cutters. So there's lots of ways you can do the next step, but basically the next step is to actually form the seed bomb itself. So if you were going to do balls, if you were going to roll them up, I'd actually leave a little bit more moisture in than what I have with these ones. And at this stage, you would add your seeds. So you would add your seeds into the mix, give it a nice mix around, and then form them into balls. I'm going to actually use this that I pulled out of my old refrigerator, which used to be home to our eggs. So you can find something in your home, even if you're not a baker or of the baking persuasion. And this is actually perfect because this is going to form little semicircle seed bombs that we can use. So all I'm going to do now is place my forms down, start taking that mixture and really smoosh it in to the molds that we have. So again, the amount that you make really depends on how much you shred at the start. And you don't want to be scared of really compacting the paper into the molds here. But before I get too carried away with it, and I'll do one more. Here we go. This really does smell really good, better than I thought it was. So I've almost got these ones full now. I'll move them out of the way. Now I'm going to add my seeds. So that you can pretty much use whatever seeds you want to do this. I was originally planning to do marigolds for these, hence the turmeric coloured. But now I'm thinking I'm actually going to do basil. So you can pick up seeds from pretty much anywhere, hardware stores. You can get it at some grocery stores. You can order them online. You get some really cool heritage seeds online these days. Grab your seeds. Now, when you're putting the seeds in, you don't want to put too many into each bomb because then what happens is when you plant them and they begin to germinate, they might be a bit too overcrowded. So you just need a few per, and it also depends on the plant as well. So with These are tiny little black seeds, so we're pretty good with this. We'll sprinkle a few of those in each. If you were doing something like a bigger sunflower seed, you really want to limit however many you're putting into each one. Just decorate, put those in. There we go. Now we've got our seeds in, we can just do our final pack and really like get it in fairly tight. Don't be afraid about over compacting them. I think the longer you let your water sit at the beginning of this, then the better it will form in the molds as well. So you can do it really quickly if you don't have time, but I think letting that paper really mush up will help with this. Get them in there, nice and tight. And that is basically all you need to do to form your seed bombs. Now, I do apologize. I didn't work any magic. I don't actually have any to show you that I prepared earlier because this is the first time I've actually done this. So I think that's a testament to just how simple and easy it is to follow this recipe. And what you've got is a really lovely little gift at the end. Because what you do is you let them dry at least 24 hours. Of course, your local climate conditions will determine how long they will need to dry. But once they've had some time to sit and all that moisture has gone out, then you can, same as Andrew was saying, give it a whack to get them out. And you'll have these lovely green half semicircle seed bombs. And when you gift them to somebody, all they need to do is plant them in some soil, give them some water, and hopefully they will germinate. So yeah, you can do it with all kinds of different things. Vegetables, I've used herb, flowers, whatever takes your fancy. My thinking behind this was it would be really fun to do up a range of different colors and then match the color to either the flower or the plant that you were planning to put seeds in. And then if you had a couple of different varieties, then you could package them up in whatever way suits you. We've seen lots of examples of how you can package these kinds of things from today. So thank you to the ladies that presented earlier. My idea behind this was I'm not a hoarder of paper. I am a hoarder of jars. I pretty much keep every jar that we use in our house. Well, I've got quite a few of them. I'm really fond of these ones. These are the bigger peanut butter jars that I've been buying the bigger peanut butter. Try and get that out because they're one of the few brands that is actually made in Australia from 100% Australian peanuts. Many of the other brands that we have aren't, so I get this one. And they've got these great little jars you get in different sizes, and I thought it would be really fun to do up a bunch of these, different colours, different types of seeds. You could make a little label or something to say which was which. There's no limit to the creativity you can put into this. You can just keep it simple, have one type and gift them, or do different ones, put them in jars. I do wish I had some to put in here and show you, but I'm sure you can just visualize what it would look like. But what I like to do with my jars to gift them is, this looks nice enough if that's what you want to do, but it's super easy to get some form of paper. I've always got some of this craft paper lying around the house. Newspaper looks great as well. All you need to do is cut a circle, roughly the shape of your lid, put it on top there. Let me move my camera down so you can see what I'm doing. Get yourself a piece of twine or string or ribbon, whatever you've got. If you're a collector like Andrea, you might have lots of different options. I have lots of things for my plants, so I've always got some twine or whatnot lying around the house. This is very fiddly to do when you do have an audience. No pressure. There we go. So just get that under the sort of the seam of the lid so it's nice and tight. And then a really lovely touch, I think, is to go and get some foliage that you've got in your garden, something that's going to hold up really well, even if it's been cut. Rosemary is fantastic, and I just find it so festive to get gifts like this with a sprig of rosemary. They smell great when you gift them. This is just from my callistemon, my bottle brush. If you could pair the foliage that you use with the seed bombs that you have made, that would be cool too. But I don't know how technical you want to get with it. You can just do a little bow if you're that way inclined, or you can just cut them off. I think they look nice when they've just got the little edges off. And there you've got, you know, imagine that filled with colourful seed bombs or whatever colour you've picked. Completely made from home, recycled, sustainable gift for you to use. Now, this is a really great one that you can do with small ones if you've got kids or nieces or nephews. They love getting their hands dirty and getting involved. There's no limit to the forms that you can make and the seeds that you can use. So that is this one. So that was it from me. I've gone a little bit over time, but we really appreciate everybody that's joined in the call today. Thank you to Amelia, Andrea and Layla for your contributions. And I hope we've got lots of ideas from the chat. We'll certainly collect all of those that have come through and we'll put a summary together from everything that's been suggested today. So that's it from us. Any last comments from the rest of the team that was presenting today before we wrap up?
No, I'm actually going to do all these things for my Christmas. I'm very excited. It's always good to have new ideas, so I'm excited to try them all.
If you do, remember, take photos. You're getting actions for next year's Green Impact Toolkit already. Remember, we've got the Facebook groups for Green Impact. If you do make anything from these sessions, we love to see it and see what you're doing with it. So please do share it with us, and I hope you have wonderful festive seasons coming your way.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.